I didn't argue when he said it. "You're outdated. We're done here," the CEO hissed, leaning across the table like he was swatting a fly. I nodded once. Calm. Professional. Understood. That was the moment the retirement trust activated its voting rights. He didn't know that yet. No one did. Power works best when it's quiet. The call from my daughter came later that night, threaded with wind and fear. She didn't cry at first. She tried to sound older than 15, brave, like she'd practiced it. "She told me to leave," she said. "She said I was cursed." Rain hammered the phone. I could hear it hitting her jacket, the street, her breath shaking as she pretended it wasn't cold. My new wife had screamed it from the doorway. "Get out of my house. I don't need a cursed daughter." Then she turned away and called me, not to explain, but to justify. "My son told me everything," she said. "I won't have lies under my roof." I told her I was in a meeting. I told her we'd talk later. That was a lie. What I was in was transition. I had loved her once. That's the embarrassing part people don't expect. I believed in second chances, blended families, clean slates. I believed smiles at dinner meant safety. I believed the way her son avoided my eyes was teenage awkwardness, not calculation. I believed wrong. My daughter had never lied to me, not once. And when the lie finally surfaced, it came from a place that stank of envy and opportunity. The stepson wanted her gone. She was proof I had a life before them, proof I had loyalties he couldn't control. And my wife? She wanted peace, the cheap kind, the kind bought by choosing the loudest voice. So she chose him. I picked my daughter up an hour later. She was soaked, shivering, silent. I didn't ask questions. I wrapped my coat around her and told her to get in the car. Pain comes first. Planning comes second. That night, while she slept on the couch with a blanket tucked under her chin like when she was little, I opened my laptop. 2 betrayals, one personal, one professional. Both had made the same mistake. They thought I was passive. I had spent 30 years building structures people never noticed, trusts, shells, safeguards, contingencies, the kind of architecture men like my CEO mock until it swallows them whole. The retirement trust wasn't symbolic, it was loaded. Old money, quiet money, the kind that waits patiently while loud men burn themselves out. 76%. Mine. Legally insulated, ethically clean, triggered by termination without cause, triggered by arrogance. The domestic side took longer. It always does. I installed nothing illegal. I didn't need to. People record themselves when they think they're right. My wife screamed a lot. She texted worse. Her son bragged to friends. Screenshots accumulate. Stories collapse under their own weight. The truth surfaced the way it always does, by contradiction. Dates didn't line up. Messages changed tone. Witnesses didn't match. The lie was small, petty, stupid, but the consequences were not. By Sunday night, everything was in place. My daughter was safe, asleep in her old room at my sister's house, surrounded by people who loved her without conditions. And I was very calm. That's the part no one understands. Revenge isn't rage. Rage is sloppy. Revenge is administration. Monday morning, the board convened an emergency meeting. I wasn't invited. I attended anyway. The CEO was pale before I even sat down. The lawyers were already sweating. Someone had printed the trust documents. Someone else had finally read them. A voice cracked. Who just fired the person who owns 76% of the shares? I folded my hands. No smile. No speech. Just presence. 3 hours later, the police knocked on my front door. Not for me. They had questions. About child endangerment. About abandonment. About messages that were hard to explain away once printed in black and white. My wife and her son stood behind her, drained of color. She looked at me like I had done something unspeakable. I looked back and felt nothing. That was new. She tried to speak. I held up a finger. Not now, I said. Calm, familiar. The same tone I'd used in boardrooms for decades. The police listened. Truth has weight when it's documented. In the weeks that followed, the company stabilized. New leadership, quiet apologies, a severance package that came with silence clauses and shame. At home, the house felt bigger, emptier, cleaner. My daughter laughed again, slowly, carefully, like someone testing ice after a fall. I didn't tell her everything. Children don't need the full map of darkness. They just need to know someone is holding the line. People ask if I regret it. They expect anger or guilt or a lecture about forgiveness. What I feel instead is alignment. The moment they pushed my child into the storm, they signed something they never read.